it does fail. But it doesn't look like anybody's actually watching it at this very moment anyway, so I think it'll be all right. So what you hear going on in the background is I've got the dual printer running. I just gotta, there we go. Just printing a 2-color part. So this is, we kind of did the duplicate mode last time where it just makes a copy, and I've got a sample of that here also. But it's just printing a little rectangle. Well, I think it's actually a square with a circle in it, just to show the idea of what you get with the 2 separate extruders. And so you can see one of these is working on the part. The other one's actually behind me over here. It's parked, and they're going to switch back and forth. Normally, when you do multicolor prints and you have a single nozzle, so that's well, I was about to say common, but it's not really common. That's the more common, I suppose, way to do this. You have one nozzle and you feed different filaments into that nozzle. The problem with that is that those different filaments end up going through the same nozzle and bleed into one another, and so you have this lengthy purge area you have to deal with. Here, now I only have 2. Actually, they do have some printers. I think, can't think of it might be an E3D printer that has more than 2 of these nozzles, more of the 2 sets of extruders. I think it might have 4 or 5 of them even. I do not have one of those printers. Maybe someday I'll get one, but I don't do enough multicolor printing for it to actually matter, right? So what I've got here is the one I showed last time, the JG Maker Artist. We have switched out to the 0.6 millimeter nozzles. At least I assume they're 0.6. I still didn't do the flow test to actually test that, although they seem to be operating relatively within reason. You know, I can see that they're not tuned perfectly well. You know, it does need some help getting these parts to look better, but they're printing. And I haven't spent a whole lot of time. Like I said, when I got this printer out yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was, I literally had to dust it off because it had been sitting on a shelf that hadn't been used for a year at least. I just don't have a big need for multicolor prints, or at least not 2-color prints. But if you do, then this is a decent way to get there. There are 2 other ways that you could get there by adding on to your existing printer to multicolor, and they get more than 2 colors. So one of those ways is Prusa. Prusa has a multi-material upgrade where it takes 5 filaments inputs and runs them through your 1 nozzle output, and so it will periodically chop up a piece of filament, send it through, and then send the next color through when it's needed. That's another one of those where there is a purge tower that goes along with this. So I'll drag that out at some point before the quarter is over, and it's harder. I might have to just take us to it because it's kind of mounted to the wall, because you do have to have, you know, multiple filament spools feeding it, and so it's kind of hard to move around. But I'll at least let you see how that thing works. The downside to it is it's expensive. So I think I don't remember, $600 or $700 maybe. We'll have to look that up. But so there's that. But it's also that purge block. A lot of times it's not crazy that the purge block is just as much filament as the actual part you're printing. So it really only works when you're printing a whole platter full of things and then you've got the 1 purge block. I mean, it works other times. It becomes more cost efficient whenever you have multiple items in the 1 purge block, because you only need 1 purge block no matter how many items you have on the tray. The other similar but a little bit different is the Mosaic Pallet. And so the difference they both kind of do the same thing. The palette can take, I don't know, maybe 6 inputs or something. It can take a whole bunch. I think there's a pro version and a lower version maybe, and one of them I can take 8 different inputs. I don't know, a bunch of filament going into the thing. And it does the same idea where it chops them up periodically so that when they hit the nozzle, you're printing the right color for that particular spot on the part that you're trying to print. So the difference in those two is the Mosaic actually welds the filament together. So it actually takes filament A and filament B and welds them together so that you've got a long strand of the filament coming in. So it can kind of get ahead of time, you know, so you don't have to wait on a filament change or something like that. So it's one continuous multicolored string of filament. So that's nice. It's an even more expensive machine. It's not specific to Prusa though. It's you can attach it to whatever FDM printer you want to attach it to. I have an older version of those. It's in my office and I'll show it off. Both of these can be finicky to tune. You can imagine you have to, for it to work, for the process to work, you have to have the right color coming out of the nozzle at the right time. And so they do have, you know, some use cases where they just don't work very well. Maybe you're printing really tiny things and it just doesn't work that well. But they both do that type of thing. The Prusa one does not weld the filament together. It sends the right color and then chops it off and sends another color right behind it without welding them together. So there is a little bit of pause between each color change, whereas on the Mosaic it can usually, assuming it buffers far enough ahead of time, it can usually just keep up without having to pause your print. This style is different where each extruder has its own filament. You don't ever have to switch filament. Now you'll see it goes over here in Parks, and I've noticed that it's not quite purging perfectly. So there's a little bit of a little blob every time, or there can be a little blob when it comes back over here. There's a little string. You couldn't see that, it's way too small on your screen. But it doesn't have nearly the waste of the other style. And you could still fill up the whole tray. Again, this is a big tray, 12 inch by 12 inch, well, 11 and a half printable probably. But you can put a whole bunch of these. There's another one of those little strings that, oh, it's finished. That was the last one. So it needs some retraction tuning apparently. So let's get this off of here so you can kind of see what we've got going on. I did print a brim on it, so it's got a little brim stuck on it, but I don't know if I want to get it to focus that close or not. Let's see if we can do it. Kind of, maybe. I don't know. It wants to focus way down here. Maybe we can just zoom in. There we go. So, I mean, you can see where the printer is not tuned, but the two colors are pretty much welded together. I just made this in Tinkercad. I'll show you how to set it up in a second, just because it's not terribly difficult. There's the brim off of there. So now we've got a two color. It's all two colors all the way through. So it's not like what we did before, where we had, you know, a layer of green and then a layer of red on top of it. So if you have reason to want to mix two colors on the same layer, then this is a way to do it. I would have to have a good reason, you know, to go buy this printer. This printer, like I said, it is a large printer, so it can work just like a regular printer and print large parts. It does have some issues. That fan, I'm gonna have to turn it off pretty soon. Actually, I think I can go ahead and turn it off. I don't think we need to print again anytime soon. Much better. It's so loud. I assume I could get in there. It's probably the power supply fan, or maybe they have a case fan for cooling the whole printer inside. Everything's inside this bottom case down here. This is a metal case that houses everything. So that's a thing that if you're interested in dual color and you want to do a lot of it, this printer could help. It's definitely the cheapest option for dual color that I know of. They might have a slightly newer version. I know there is a pro version of this same thing. The pro version doesn't add anything mechanically. It's all silent steppers, touchscreen something else. I don't remember, but it's not a mechanical change. I did make some more prints. So I printed these two guys in duplicate mode on this printer. These are PETG, nothing special. They're I don't even know what brand this is. It's some old brand. It's not labeled. 3D filament. So who knows how old this is. But it's just a kind of a translucent PETG. That's one of the things about PETG, is that it can be a little bit translucent a lot of times. Particularly the older stuff, it all was. It was more the like a 7-Up bottle or something, you know, that kind of thing. And then the blue one is E-Sun. These, I think it's the tuning, but they ended up with a texture on them. So I think they both ended up with that. I don't know if it picked, yeah, you can see how sparkly it is. Normally when I print this, that's not how these look. So I don't know if it's the tuning. I actually kind of like it, but I don't know what caused it exactly. It's almost like a very light fuzzy skin from Cura, but that's not what it is. I don't know if I've showed you the fuzzy skin in Cura before, but it's a neat little tool for adding texture to a model. Maybe you want a grip or something like that, you modeled it flat, and then you want it to have a little bit of texture to make it less slippery. Then there's a fuzzy skin in Cura that can add that. We'll look at that in a second, because I'm not sure I've done that. So they came out, one, I don't remember which was here, I think it was that way. And they printed. So that's another benefit for the larger printer that has two independent extruders, is that if you're printing, you know, stuff that fits on 1/2 of the bed, you can print 2 of them at the same time. So you just cut your print time in half, assuming you wanted 2 of them and you actually needed multiple copies. So that's another benefit for having the dual. It can also do a mirror mode. I don't even know if it would be easy to pick up that these were mirrored. These were not. These were duplicated like a copy, but it can do a mirror mode where you've got one piece over here and you've got the mirror image on the other side. So it can do that too if there's a reason you would want that. I guess if you were printing a bunch of things and you wanted them to have a little bit of variety between them, half of them could be one side and the other could be mirrored. So I printed those, mainly just to get the printer prove to me that, okay, it's good enough that it's going to print stuff. It still needs tuning and flow tuning and retraction tuning and all that, but I don't know, maybe we'll use it a little bit more if I can get that fan to be a little less loud. Then I printed 2 other things. I found a sample of polypropylene. So polypropylene is well, it's kind of like this bag, that material. A lot of jugs, like the jug for, not a milk jug, I think that's polyethylene. But like a laundry detergent jug, that kind of stuff, that's polypropylene. And it did print. It printed on the ender. It needs a really high bed temperature to get it to stick, and mine almost came, there was just a little bit of it hanging on at the end, and I was afraid it wasn't going to make it, but it did make it. It says that it'll stick well to PET tape, so if you had some like Kapton tape or something like that, you could put that down. What I did is, actually, it's over there, I printed it on the ender, so I turned the regular bed that comes with the ender, I turned it on the back side, and that surface, it'll stick things like nylon and all that, and it stuck to polypropylene. I did turn it up to 90, so I didn't print it on glass, and it did stick. I didn't, it might have helped if I put some, maybe some kind of adhesive on the surface. I didn't do hairspray or glue, anything. I just printed straight on this, and it did survive an hour-long print, but it wouldn't have worked much longer, I don't think. So the cool thing though is, let's see which one, here it is. Like, this is what it looks like. It's pretty nicely done. The top did start getting a little bit out of line because it was only this very center part was still hanging on, but it's flexible. You know, it's like a little plastic jug. So pretty durable. I've done this, you know, just off and on and I haven't seen any layer separation. It seems like it's holding together pretty well. It doesn't print at a really high temperature. I think I did 220, so you can do that on Ender 3. I did the bed at 90, which you can do on Ender 3. I do have that 0.6 nozzle on that one, and it is hardened, but I don't think this would matter. I haven't checked to see if it's watertight, you know, actually if it holds water or not. But that's an interesting material that your Ender 3 should be able to print, assuming you can get it to stick down. And I think what I would do is get a sheet of Kapton tape. You can get Kapton in sheets and not just little strips of tape, and I would probably print it on that. I have some somewhere, and if I can find them, I will try that out. But I only have so much polypropylene. This is from Verbatim. I did not check to see if they still make this polypropylene, but somebody makes polypropylene filament. So that's a really interesting one if you need a compliant print that is going to be a lot more durable. You know, it's not going to be brittle. So that's a good option. Then I had well, I don't know where the bag for it is. Let's see. Here it is. I had this stuff. Hello 3D's Firefly PLA. It printed normal. That's although big bold letters abrasive. So I do have the hardened nozzle, and I have the what it says 0.5 or more. I have the 0.6 in there. Like I said last time, I really think the 0.6 is the way to go unless you are you don't have a resin printer and you're trying to print really small detailed things like minis or something like that, which you can print really well on a 0.4 or maybe even drop down to a 0.3. They're just so slow that if you're doing any number of them, it's going to be a lengthy process. But here's what it printed at. So it's mostly, you know, you can see through it. It's not like glass or anything, because I'm printing larger layer lines here. I assume that if I printed a little bit smaller, these are 0.3. So if I printed a little smaller, it would be a little more clear. I have seen people be able to print almost glass-like material if you do solid. Now these are vase, you know, they're not solid at all. But if you print really slow, like 20 millimeters a second, and really hot, you can get layers to fuse to layers of this kind of material, the transparent stuff, to fuse together well enough that it is pretty transparent. If you needed that for some reason, maybe you needed a housing where you wanted to see what was going on inside. But that's not the cool thing about this one. The cool thing about this one is it has phosphorescent particles that are like embedded in it. And now I've got to find, you're not going to be able to see it because we can't turn off the lights and look at it. But if I can find my UV light, which was, oh, here it is. Let's see if I can get them to show up. Let's see. You can kind of start to see them. In person, I can really see them. You get a glimpse of them for a minute. They glow. There they are. There they are. They glow a green. They're phosphorescent. So they glow in the dark. I just can't, you know, get you to where you can see that. So, but there they are. And so those are scattered all throughout it. And so it gives like fireflies. So that's from Hello 3D Firefly PLA. So basically it's just really big chunks of glow-in-the-dark stuff. They make glow-in-the-dark filament where the whole thing is glow-in-the-dark. This one has big chunks of glow-in-the-dark stuff. All right. Looks like the stream is doing okay right now. I haven't seen it say that it was going to shut down on us, so that's good. I called this one today just a jambalaya because we've just got a variety of little things. Here, I noticed I had this out. No reason to get this particular thing, but I do a lot of like prototype objects, and you know, you're building one and you're trying to put some electronics in it. So I've got one. Where's it go? Where'd it go? Here. Got this little case, and it's got a bunch of electronics in it, and you find out you need, oh, I need an extra hole over here or something. So you can go and get a drill and or a Dremel even, and drill another hole in there, or even punch a hole with just a punch of some sort. But typically you're printing this stuff in a plastic that's relatively easy to melt. And most of the time, that means that you're going to have friction problems when you go to do something like a Dremel, you know, a high-speed drill, something like that. This is a low-speed drill. Now, they make manual versions of this. This particular one is from Tamiya. It's like a model kit. You actually build it yourself. But it's a low-speed drill with a collet on it so that you can not melt plastics when you are trying to drill a hole in them. So you can get a pin vise, which does the same thing but manual, and you have manual control over it. So I brought that one out to just remind myself to tell you that typically when you're working with these plastics and you're modifying them, which you shouldn't, you know, just think the only solution is, oh, I just need to print one of those things or whatever. No, just modify it, get that right, and then print later. Don't think every iteration has to be a print. Don't think every part. Look at this thing. So this thing is a thing you wear on your wrist, and I've got a sweatband over here. You could print a TPU band for it, yes, but when it is going to be, if your goal is to get a prototype out there of something that you're trying to do a proof of concept, you know, you're not trying to show what it's going to look like on the shelf somewhere, but it's a proof of concept, then mix and match your materials for the stuff that's going to get there the fastest. If it's a cylinder, don't print a cylinder unless it's a tiny cylinder. But don't print a cylinder. Go get something that's already a cylinder. You probably have cylinders in your house, and you certainly have cylinders at your hardware store with all the PVC pipes. So don't think that once you start 3D printing something, the whole thing that you're working on has to be 3D printed. Some people fall into that trap, particularly at school. I see a lot of they want a housing, and so they print just a box. There's nothing special about it. You can get project boxes way faster and cheaper even than what you would have to pay to print the thing, assuming you have to go and pay somebody to print it versus print it yourself. You can get a more rigid, durable project box off of Amazon, and it can be there in 2 days, versus trying to model something and get it right that you're going to have to probably edit that anyway. So don't think that everything has to be 3D printed. That's the point I'm making. But when you are working with plastics, you usually have to use slower tools. A lot of times, if you break out the Dremel, now if you're just punching a little hole in it, it's probably fine. But if you're trying to sand with any kind of abrasive on an electric machine of some sort, like a Dremel or a palm sander or whatever, it's probably going to be that you end up gumming everything up. I did just see, I haven't used it myself, but I did see a PLA that is supposed to be able to be machine sanded and not do that, but I haven't tried it. I have ordered this, but I haven't gotten it yet. Let's see, did I order it? Let me make sure I ordered it. Yes, I did. All right, so I did order this. Where are we at? Oh, maybe it's on. There we go. Yesterday, 27th. So flexible PLA. So I certainly there are TPUs that are flexible, but I haven't seen flexible PLA before. I think there might have been a sample of one, but I never printed it. But I don't know. Ordered this. It's slightly more expensive than PLA regularly would be. It's in the price range of TPU, but if this stuff can print better or a little easier than TPU and still be, flexible, who knows what they're doing to this. They could have warped this thing versus actually being flexible, but we're going to try that. I guess it'll be here over the weekend, I assume, so we can try it next week. I haven't heard of this brand before, so we'll see. But we'll let you know how that goes. It says it's an 89A, which is in the range of what the TPUs typically are. There are some TPU filaments that are way softer, like 80. But those are really hard to print on a Bowden tube. I'll print them on the the one that I've got over here that's direct drive, but I actually don't know if I still have any Ender 3s that are stock. I think they've all been, modified some way for a class. If I can find, I think I have an Ender 2 that's stock, so we can try printing it on that one and see how well it works on a Bowden tube. But so that might be something we'll look at next week to see if it actually works well or not, and if it really is flexible. It has to be some amount flexible, but if it's flexible and it doesn't have some big negative, because it's not too expensive, and it, 89A should be plenty flexible for what you would think a flexible filament would do. So we'll give it a try and see. And you can get it in multiple colors. There was one that's chocolate, black, brown, green, ivory, light brown, Prusa orange. I'm not sure how they get away with naming that, but I guess it's not copyright, or trademarked rather. Violet, white, yellow. So there's a couple of different colors that you can get in the flexible. They had some others in here too, some silks that looked good. I didn't get those. A wood, I don't know if it's a wood feel or a wood, like simulated wood. I got another thing coming also, which is a vacuum sealing kit. It's like $20 vacuum sealing kit from eSun. Let's see if I can find that. That's it right there. So it's just a hand pump. It's not a machine one, but the idea there is that you use your filament, you print with it, then you take it off the machine when you're done printing, put it in one of these bags, and it should stay not absorbing moisture. It comes with a few little packets of desiccant, I guess, too. We could get some more of those. You can, if you didn't know, you can order desiccant packages off of Amazon. So we got those coming. That should also be this weekend. I won't have a real way to test like the effectiveness of it, because measuring moisture in plastic is actually really hard to do. I suppose maybe if you had enough bulk plastic, you could, you have to take it off the spool, because the spool could possibly influence this, but you might be able to, with a sensitive enough scale, weigh it, dehydrate it, weigh it again, and maybe pick it up that there's less moisture in there. That's not typically how plastic moisture content is measured. It takes a $20,000 machine to do it, and it's a lengthy process. I don't have access to that very easily, so I wouldn't be able to test how well it's going to do, but I guess I could show you that, yeah, it held its vacuum, for a week or two before class ends. So, and it's not, $18, $19. So if it does at least hold it in a vacuum, then you could pretty much be assured it doesn't change its moisture content. It should at least stay the same. We did get in, it's back behind me on the floor over here, the toaster, dehydrator, other thing, oven. It came in. It's still in the box, though. I haven't actually gotten it out. It came in yesterday. And we'll put it, I don't know, back there somewhere so that we can try the annealing and the dehydrating part of it to see if they make a difference. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, I was going to show you the process for setting up a dual color print. So this is the one I built in Tinkercad. It's two pieces, it's this piece and that piece, and they fit together. So let's just make a new one. So let's get, I don't know, let's make this with 6 sides is fine. Let's make the height of it. I'm printing at 0.3 layer height, so let's make the height something that's a multiple of 0.3. Let's do 4.8 millimeters. These are millimeters. Let's see, and it should be 20. Oh no, it's 20 by 17.32. That's the same size as this one that we did print. That's a decent size. So we're gonna make some little token or something. All right, so I don't want to deal with any supports, so it does need to be flat on the top, or well, flat on one side. I guess the top could be raised up, and the bottom needs to be flat. But I was kind of thinking, let's put something on both sides of it so that it has, either side you look at, it has something on it. Now, I'm not going to go load new filament, so it's going to be red and green. Those are the two colors that are already loaded in the printer, so I'm not going to change that. So this will be our body. Let's actually make this the green color, so it's kind of like that. And let's put, I don't know, let's just make it a money token. So let's put some number on here. 10. 10's a popular money denomination. Let's do something a little, no, that one's, let's make it, obviously it can be way shorter than that. Let's make it, I want to make this have to do maybe 3 layers, maybe. So if I'm doing 4.8, that's 16 layers. So if I did 8 layers for this, then that would make it go all the way through if I do a top and a bottom one. Let's make some gap in between there. So let's make this 5 layers, so 1.5. Okay, and it's clearly got to be smaller so it can actually fit on the thing. I wonder if there's a way to make it bold. I got height, bevel. Oh, all right, bevel kind of does bold, sort of. Segments, just, oh, that kind of rounds off the top. I want it all nice and flat. So let's raise it up. I think that's actually raised above the, we'll line it up here in a second. Let's make it where it kind of fits on there. That looks starting to look okay. That looks good. Now let's get it, let's select it and select the other piece. Let's select both of them. Well, just do Control A. And let's align the tops. There we go. And now let's actually, I should have copied it, huh? Is that it? Oh no, that's another one of those. I don't need another one of those. There it is. So we're going to put this one on the bottom down here, but we need to mirror it. Let's see, I think this is mirror along that axis. And we will put it over there, and let's align that guy. There we go. Oh, I can't get it to select both of them. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Because it keeps moving the green part. I don't remember, like if you select one of them before the other, then it will, that's the one it moves, and I don't remember which one's which. All right, it's not that order. So it's select the other one and then the one you want to move. No, it just doesn't want to do it. All right, well, we'll manually do it. We'll have to get our grid spacing smaller. Even smaller. There we go. All right. Now what I want to do, and I probably should have selected these before, I want to duplicate these things. So I want to get that guy and the one over here. And I want to duplicate them. Control D is duplicate. And then I'm going to pull them off to the side. I should have increased my snap so it's not so small. So they're over there, sitting, hanging out. And then these I want to turn into holes. So that one's a hole. See if I can get that one. That one's a hole. Now I want to cut them out, so I'm removing the green material here. So I need to select. Oh, let's just do it this way. We'll do a window select, group those things together. And so there, now I've got the green part. Oh, I've got some weirdness in the way it did that one. That's a little bit annoying, isn't it? I can, oh, that's when I did the, when I made it bold, it actually overlapped itself. What's going to be the best way to deal with that? This is a little bit of an issue with Tinkercad is that there aren't great tools for like trimming. Like everything is subtract one primitive from another one. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to move it. Oh, I wanted to move it up. Does that look like that all? All right, I think that will. All right, we need to move it up a little bit more. All right, there we got rid of that one. And now we need to do this one. I'm not sure what the 1 will do when we put it in there. It might slice kind of weirdly, but I'm not too worried that we get this perfect. We're not too worried with that. We're just trying to kind of get the idea. Now, I need to make this smaller so I can see it all at once. Okay, that's probably close enough. All right, now what I've got are 2 pieces. I've got the green piece that'll be green, and I've got the red pieces over here that'll be red. I need to overlap them again so that they have their origins at the correct spots. That's why I'm saying I should have made my snap larger so that I don't have so much fine tuning to do. I think that lines them up. All right. Now I select, and I've got the red one selected right now. So I'm going to export and then only the selected 2 shapes. So I'm going to export those as a STL. And they came out with some weird name over there. And then I'm going to get the green one. And I'm going to export only the selected shape as a STL. So I actually have 2 models. One red one that has the 2 number 10s on it, and one green one. So now I'm using Idea Maker. I don't normally use Idea Maker, but it is the one that the JG Maker website says is recommended. So we're going to use it. Let's get rid of these 2 models and let's import our new ones. So they should be these 2. And there they are. Now I'm going to take the left extruder is actually red. I want to assign this one to the left extruder. So this set to the left. This set I'm going to assign to the right extruder, which is currently loaded with something that looks kind of like that. Oh. Yeah, that one. Now I've got a non-manifold edge. That's probably that corner in there where it's cutting out, but we'll let it deal with that. Why didn't it assign the right extruder to that? Normally it should change color and it's not, so that's a little weird to me. Maybe let's change this one. Let's see if this one's gonna. They're just showing up as red. It definitely says left and right though, so I'm gonna let it go, but they normally update their colors, which maybe it's because it's got this error with it. I don't know how good Idea Maker from Raise 3. I don't know how good this software is at fixing errors. We'll find out. So what I want to do though is I don't want them overlap like that. I want to assign one to the right extruder and one to the left extruder. Select all of them and align selected models. And that's, oh yeah, it is thinking it's gonna print a little hole right there. We may have to go back and make a simple version to avoid that, but I'm gonna let it go for now and see what happens. So I've already got a slicing profile for PLA. So it's got the temperatures and the 0.3. This is a 0.3 layer height model. Well, I guess we can edit it and look through the things. So it's got both extruders set up with a 0.6 millimeter. It's got some retraction that definitely needs tuning. It's got temperature that it grabbed from the fact that I'm printing PLA. It's got the bed at 60. That's okay. You can do different temperature layers, like different layers. You might want different temperatures. That's really handy for some materials because, well, for two things. A common material, you can print a little bit hotter those first few layers to really get them to stick down. And there's other materials where you can go in and vary the temperature, and the hotter and cooler temperature layers will actually show up in the print. So wood filaments are like that a lot of times, the ones that actually have wood fill in them. It'll look kind of like banding in the wood grain. Some of the silks are that way. They get more matte and more shiny at different temperatures. PETG is even like that. It'll get more shiny and more matte at different temperatures. So you could, if you wanted to, go in here and set up these bands of temperature to get some kind of artistic effects. They don't really do anything mechanical. I guess they might make the layers a little bit stronger in certain places. I would imagine the reason you would probably want to do this, different layers at different temperature, is to make the first couple of layers hotter so that it has a better chance of sticking. Then you've got your speeds. So this, like I said, I don't use Idea Maker a lot, but it's certainly capable. I don't feel like it gets updated as often as Cura and Prusa do, though. I could be wrong. It just feels that way. Oh, I do need to put that at 0.3, though. Apparently, I put that at 0.2. Do you want to? No, I don't. So let's make sure I've got everything else the way I wanted it. Top and bottom of 3, that's good. Where were my walls? Outline shells 2. Okay, that's fine. All right, we'll let that go. Apparently, I didn't have it set to 0.3 millimeter layers like I thought I did. All right, so I select that and I'm going to slice it. Let's preview to see what it came up with. So it does look like it picked up, and it's trying to print that little gap in there, which maybe it'll just fuse all together. It says it's going to take 8.5 minutes. So let's export that, and let's go ahead and turn our printer on. This one, like I remember, it does take a while to heat up. So let's save this to color token, and let's save it on the thing over here. Done. Okay. Let's eject that because, oh, did I eject it? I better check because I might have just automatically ejected it without even thinking. No, there it goes. These little SD cards are easily corrupted if you don't eject them, it seems like. All right, so now we're back over at the printer. If I can get to there, there we are. You can kind of see what's going on the screen. Now, you can force... Oh, you know what? I didn't... Let me check. Close this. I might not have set this one up in normal... I did set it up in normal mode. Okay. So, you can just have a regular object and force it to do duplicate or mirror from the screen here. This one I don't want that. I want the two colors, so I'm not going to set that up. But in this configuration part, that's where your IDEX options are for duplicate and mirror. We're just going to print. Oh, got to initialize the media. Print from media, 2-color token. Print. Both of these are set on, so 205 and 205. That gives me at least the idea that it is going to do 2 colors. So, like I said, though, it's a little bit slow on the old heating. Particularly this bed, just takes a long time to heat. Also, I've got a glass sheet on it, which is... Oh, it looks like we might have lost our stream. Still recording though, just in case we do lose the stream. I didn't see that many people. Saw like, I don't know, a few pop-ins here and there, but nobody stayed. So I can just post it as a regular video. Who knows, it might actually reconnect, and it says, oh, actually it did try to reconnect, but we're recording. Right now we're just waiting. The bed is at 47 and the nozzles are at 140 something, so they've got to get up a little bit longer before it's going to restart the printer or start the print. Let's see if I can move the camera out far enough, you'll be able to see kind of its calibration routine, what it does. And we can kind of get all of it in there. There we go. It looks like the stream just gave up, so that's fine. We'll close that, and we'll just rely on the recording and post the recording. Alright, we're getting close. The bed's at 54. And the nozzles are pretty much heated up, but the bed is the part that just takes a while to heat up. If I remember right, it's an AC bed, which does heat up faster than the DC beds generally. I don't know that I remember that correctly or not, or if I just remember thinking, oh, this should be an AC bed because it's so big. It's almost there. 57 is trying to get to 60. Now I have noticed on this that the first little bits that each nozzle prints have a good bit of ooze around them, so I've got my little twist, whatever these are called, I don't know, angled tweezers ready to grab some blobs off of the bed if they end up doing that. Alright, so it should be ready to go. I think it's trying to stabilize the bed. It is at 60, but it checks to make sure it's going to actually be at 60. There it goes. Alright, so it's homed both of them on their respective ends. And now it's homing Z. The Z on this one does have an adjustable end stop back there, so you can kind of get Z correctly set. It's purging the left, the red one. Oh, you know what? I didn't even check to see what I made left and right. If I made the outside red or the inside red. I don't remember what I made the different colors. So it does do a purge. Didn't stick very well. This side over here is a little bit low compared to where it prints. So the purge lines kind of get everywhere. So I usually, so see there's a little bit, I think it's actually going to be okay though, that's kind of out of the way. See if we can get closer now that it's just going to go back and forth. And there it is. I can't really get lower than that though with this. Oh yeah, I can. A little bit lower. So it did that was the brim. Probably these are kind of small parts. In this bed, I don't trust it yet to hold on to small parts, so I added a little brim to help it hold on. So there's our number 10, and it did like I thought it would. It filled in that little gap. Now it's going to try and print the green. It did not purge the green for some reason though, so it's a little lumpy. I don't know why. It normally purges over here on the side, but for some reason this time it just didn't. So that first little layer has got a little bit of lumpiness in it, which is a shame. I'm gonna have to go look through the G code, the startup G code, and see why it didn't purge the first layer or the first movement. That's really weird because I don't know what option I changed between the part I just printed, this one, between this one and the one there, where this one, it did purge on the side. I don't know. It looks like it kind of filled in there, so it's going to do 2 green layers. Now it'll come, bring the red extruder over, and do 2 red layers, and just flip back and forth. How long did it say it was going to print? I think it said 9 minutes or so. It says it's got 6 minutes left. I think I'll keep the recording going now to watch the last of it and see how it turns out. You can kind of see where the retraction on this guy needs to be, at least on the red. It dropped a little tiny bit of filament in there. These are direct drive setups, so they don't need a lot of retraction, but they do need some, apparently, or at least a little more than what they've got on that left extruder, because it is leaving strings behind when it moves out of the way. The green didn't seem to do that. Again, these have not been tuned at all, so they do need E-steps tuning, they need retraction tuning, they need flow tuning. That might be a good thing to do because that's applicable to any printer. It's not just to this one, but that might be a good thing to go back through. We've done all those things at the very beginning, but it might be good to go back one more time and see if we can get this setup printing a little better if we go through the right tuning. I don't know if y'all want to see that or not, because it's stuff we have done already. While it's printing, because now it's just going to kind of alternate back and forth doing the same thing, I think there should be a couple of layers in there that are just solid green, but I think it's going to do this for a little bit. While it's doing that, I want to show you this little guy. I don't know if I've shown it or not this year, but so some things you want to do, you could print, but say you've got some prints and you want to repair them, or you want to I don't know, you want to add something to them. They do make these little things. So these are handheld 3D printer pins. So instead of a servo mechanism, linear rails and all that, you basically control them around. But they take filament in here. There's some rechargeable ones. This one's actually wall power, so you do have to plug it into a power source. But they take filament in here, have a tiny little extruder and heater on this end. You've got a couple of buttons to go forwards, backwards, faster, slower, kind of like that. Usually they have some sort of, are you printing ABS or PLA, so you can get a temperature control up here. And you can print just a roll of filament with them. And I don't have any sample things right now. Maybe I could get this kind of, so you can see what it will do. Obviously it's going to be a lot dependent on your skill in using this thing, but maybe you have 2 parts that you had to print a larger piece in 2 parts, or it failed and you got to put it back together. Instead of just using glue, you can weld it back together with more filament. So it just uses a wall adapter for this one, but there are some that are rechargeable. I never used the rechargeable ones though. I'm trying to get the extension cord. Okay, so got it plugged in. I do need a roll of something to put in it though. So it's set up for PLA right now. It's got a little stand to hold it in, so that because it's going to get hot on the end. It's like a soldering iron. So it's at 27. I'm going to grab some kind of filament to put in it. Let's see. Fell on the floor. So it's at 80. I found this. Have no idea what it is. Put you over there. So I've just got a roll of green, I assume PLA, but it may not be. We're not quite up to temperature yet. We're at 155. You really can't get PLA going until maybe, oh, it's got something in it also already. So we'll be able to extrude something. And you can't get film PLA to extrude until about 180 is the very beginning. So we're getting there. And actually, it said I could go at 170. Let's see. There's the, you know, we're kind of purging out the old stuff. I think that might have been all that was in there. Give it some new green. Alright, it grabbed a hold of the green and it's intaking it. There's actually some gray in there. We'll put it on this. So you could, you know, you can print something. Doesn't want to stick to any of that though. Our green still hasn't come out. Oh, our other part is almost finished. I wonder if I can make it go. No, that's about as fast as it's going to go. But now it's kind of flowing pretty well. And there's the green finally. So you could imagine kind of welding a seam if you needed to. I don't think there are on YouTube, there are people that like create with these things. I don't think I'd want to do that necessarily. But if I had a 3D printed part that I needed to get back together, I could see doing something like this to reassemble it. Hopefully that will come off of there. Let's see. So if you do a lot of part making and you know, you need to assemble some broken parts, or maybe you intentionally build them into two parts, they do make handheld 3D printer pins that can go in there and weld your parts back together. So I'm going to set this off to the side, but you can weld two pieces together. So here's our retraction problem. We got this long string, but let's look at our little token we made. So we've got the long, oh, let's turn this off. Alright, got that. We're just going to cut that off of there. Some gaps in there from you know, just flow rate not being calculated right. The brim comes off pretty easy, so that's good. Looks like we left some of it there. I really probably should set the brim to be the same color as the bulk outside there. Looks like I didn't get that one centered up right. It's kind of off to the top. That one, I didn't even pay attention to that. I just stuck it on the bottom there. But you can make two color type of objects relatively straightforward. It's actually two different models. So one model is for one color, the other model is for the second color, or the first color, whichever. Definitely have some extrusion issues in there. You can kind of see all throughout. That's the printer though, not the process. And you can end up with no real, I mean, you got the purge line waste, but you would have that anyway. No real purge blocks or anything like that. Sometimes even with these printers, it is good to do a little tiny purge beforehand so that you don't have oozing, dragging stuff all over the place. What I would probably do, like if I were printing this thing, is I would have just one that I knew was going to be a little bit messy, and then so it would be the one they purge at, and then it'd print the others probably pretty well. So that's what I would do with that. So it looks like our printer needs some tuning for sure, but you can get some actual dual color parts with a printer that has two separate extruders, if that's the thing you're interested in. All right, I think that's enough for today. I'm going to figure out how to upload this video to the YouTube, and since the other one ended right before we started that, so the stream ended. So I will see y'all actually next week, and we've got a lot of new things coming in, some new material, and we've got the checking on the toaster, well, oven dehydrator. So that's what we're going to see, if that is a viable option for both annealing parts and for dehydrating moisture-ridden filament. I'll see y'all next week. So it recorded. Where did it record it?